Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Hier ist eine neue Folge von Radikal Glücklich, deinem Podcast für ein strahlendes, sehr gut gelauntes Leben. Ich bin Silja, Folge 174, eine Interviewfolge, Tracy Keough on High Frequency Living. After a short German introduction, there will be an English interview. Also, du hörst schon, gleich geht's auf Englisch weiter. Wenn dir das nicht ganz so geläufig ist, dann kannst du die wichtigsten Punkte im Blogpost zu dieser Folge finden. Einfach auf den Link in den Shownotes klicken. Das kann ich dir auch so empfehlen, einfach zur Verstärkung nochmal durchzulesen. Und heute habe ich einen sehr besonderen Gast zu Gast. Tracy habe ich gefunden über Instagram. Es ist ja manchmal so, dass man irgendwo klickt und noch klickt, man sieht was und ich versuche mittlerweile darauf zu achten, was mein Körper sagt. Also reagiert mein Körper, also in mir wie so eine Freude oder so was Magnetisches oder was Weites oder Helles auf Personen oder auf Angebote. Und dann gucke ich mir die an näher. Und so war das bei Tracy auch. Also etwas hat mich hingezogen. Und sie macht eine sehr besondere Arbeit. Sie macht Energetic Clearings. Und auf ihrer Webseite heißt es sehr schön, Real-Life Tools for High Frequency Living. Also so die Tools aus dem echten Leben für ein Hochfrequenzleben. Und es geht hier darum, in die Selbstheilung zu kommen, bei ihr die eigene Heilerin für uns zu sein und so ein bisschen eine Ausrichtung zu kommen mit der eigenen Energie. Und wer hier schon ein bisschen länger zuhört, weiß, dass das Thema Energie einfach mich gerade total zieht. Und ich hatte mittlerweile schon 3 ganz besondere Sitzungen mit Tracy, habe Sachen verstanden, die mir vorher nicht klar waren, hat sehr meine andere Arbeit nochmal abgerundet und ich werde weiter mit ihr arbeiten und ich hatte total Lust, sie in den Podcast zu holen, weil sie kennt sich mit allem Möglichen aus, was wir tun können, um in guter Energie zu bleiben, woran wir merken, dass wir eine Energie angenommen haben, die nicht unsere ist. Wir sprechen darüber, wie sie ätherische Öle nutzt, ganz am Ende auch, was ihre eigene Routine ist. Wir sind kommen auf ihre Schutzrituale, die sie macht, wenn sie in großen Gruppen agiert, welche Engel sie wichtig findet, also von Höcksken auf Stöcksken. Und sie ist so ein herzlicher, wunderbarer Mensch. Also ich rate dir, zuzuhören bis zum Schluss, mitzunehmen, was immer dir gut tut. Und ich wünsche dir einfach nur richtig viel Spaß. Solltest du Lust haben, uns zu sehen, dann findest du auch eine Aufzeichnung unseres Gesprächs auf YouTube. So, und jetzt viel Spaß bei der Folge und mit Tracy. Und wenn du mit ihr arbeiten willst oder einfach wissen willst, wer sie genau ist, alle Links, Instagram, da teilt sie viele spannende Sachen und auch ihre Webseite habe ich natürlich in den Shownotes und in dem Blogpost zu dieser Folge verlinkt. Viel Spaß. So I'm happy and honored that Tracy takes some time today to talk with me and us all about her work and about energetic clearings, because Tracy, before you can start introducing yourself, I just want to say thank you. We've had 3 wonderful sessions together, which won't be the last. I already booked the next one, and this already has changed so much for me and has given me so many insights. So I'm really curious to talk with you about your work. Because I was, as a client, of course, I'm totally concentrated on my stories. So now's the time to get you chatting about what is that weird stuff going on when I'm talking with you. So you might want to introduce yourself with a couple of sentences so everybody knows who you are, whatever you feel would be nice to say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. It's very exciting. I'm delighted to be here. My name is Tracy Keough, and I live in Newfoundland, Canada, which is an island just off the east coast of Canada in the middle of the North Atlantic. Very hardy, very rustic, very rocky, very unpredictable. I've worked in the realm of energetics for about 25 years, believe it or not. And so I'll talk a little bit about that and my whole journey. I think we're going to get into that today. And really the bulk of my work now is really focused on having people understand what it feels like to be in their own body. And that might sound very vague, but really what it means to be 100% in your own authentic power, in your own energy, free of the energetics of others. So whether that's people, places, pasts, ancestral things, clearing out all of that that's not rightfully yours, so that you can, be the light that you're here to be, bring your contribution fully to the world, the reason that you're here, in 100% alignment is really what sums it up. So it's what gets me excited and gets me out of bed every day, supporting people in that way. So
oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So when you say our authentic us, ourselves, is that meant like free from energetics and also free from conditioning, or is it just energetic to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. It means both ultimately. So free from the energetics of whatever it is that's in your energetic field, of which is some conditioning, right? So old beliefs, old patterns, conditioning, expectations of society, influences of society, which are more prevalent now than ever, is all really part of a quote unquote conditioning. And so those all impact us in some way. We take them in some way, whether it's our brain, our emotions, our energy. And so it's really a combination of both. When I have a program where I work a little longer with people, a little more of an extended period of time. And it involves more like physical body. It might involve movement. Like there's a lot of different pieces to it. So we work on energetics. We work on internal breath work, which you've participated in. And then also movement and how things move through your body and how you release things through your body. A lot of which that comes from conditioning, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's what I feel too. And I already feel a little lighter since we work, because some of the beliefs and also energetics have come clearer and were ready to be accepted and released. Kind of, yeah, it felt like it. So how did that work find you? I'm really curious about that. like was a little spoon playing indoors and you like all that energy, or how did that happen?
Yeah. So this is a bit of a long story, but I'm going to tell it because I think it's really important. So I, from a very young age, was very, very tapped into energy. Definitely. I was definitely an independent child. I was very attuned to what was happening. My parents would always say, "Oh, you're so wise for your age," but it wasn't brain wisdom. It was just sensing things and seeing things and hearing things. I heard a lot of different things like frequencies and things like that. In fact, this will age me a little bit, and anybody who's English will probably appreciate this. But I have had ringing in my ears from a very young age. I thought everybody had it, like a high pitched tinnitus. Mm-hmm. And never told my parents about it. I never thought anything of it. But every once in a while, it would go off in one ear and get really loud in my other ear. And I would think the Bionic Woman was sending me a signal. I don't know if in Germany you had the Bionic Woman TV show, but it was a North American TV show where it's this woman who had all these superpowers. And this beacon would call her, like when somebody needed help, it would be like, it would be like that. And so when the sound would go off in my one ear and get really loud in the other, I'd be like, someone's sending me a signal. That was kind of just what I learned. I'd be like, what is it? What's happening? Oh. So anyway, my parents never knew I had, it's true. It just shows the imagination of a child too, right? Like I was probably 6 and I was like, ooh, somebody's sending me a signal, which they probably were, but I didn't know. And so, yeah, I had the ringing in my ears, which I later learned was just a part of the frequency, but my parents never knew. I thought it was normal. I didn't realize that not everybody had it. And it wasn't until I was 17, I had to get braces. And we were at the dentist and my mom was sitting next to me. And one of the questions was, do you have ringing in your ears? And I put an X in the yes box. And my mom was like, you do? And I was like, I thought everybody had it. Like I've had it since I can remember. I've never not had it. And so it's why I talk so loud. I had to condition myself to talk lower because I'm talking over the pitch in my ears,
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Yeah. So anyway, so this is a very long story. So I always knew I had something. And when I was in my very early 20s, I was a massage therapist, athletic therapist, and massage therapist. And when I graduated school, I went to work with a woman for whom I'd heard about that she was this amazing healer. And when I went to work with her, I found out that she was a great hands-on therapist, but she used energetics and a lot of crystals. And so I just started mentoring under her and learning from her and understanding how to really listen to what was really going on with people. So somebody might come in with a sore hip and really the problem was in their ankle, but it was listening and looking, And so I started learning under her, and I took a couple of courses. I was very young. And then I went through a phase where probably in my mid to late 20s, where I thought, oh God, everybody thinks I'm so weird because I would just have all these abilities and I was doing all these things. And so I left the profession completely and went into like medical sales, like completely had a story about how weird I was. And I left and for years worked in sales and was very successful because, I had great people skills and things like that. And then I left that arena. And I had a friend for whom I used to manage. I used to manage her. She used to work with me. And I just read somewhere, probably on Instagram or something, that she was in a bad way. And I instantly was like, oh, I need to create a crystal grid for her. And so I sent her I created this crystal grid and I activated it. And I sent her a picture, or I didn't activate it. I sent her a picture in an email and said, if this is crossing any boundaries, stop reading right now. Because I didn't ask her permission, to do it. So I laid out what all the crystals meant and how it was going to support her, and that I had read that this was what's happening with her. And she messaged me back immediately. And she was like, how did you know how to do this? I've known you for 10 years and I didn't know you had this ability. I'm going to kick you out of the spiritual closet. That's what she said. She was, had a pretty big business. And she's like, I'm telling everybody about you. And sure enough, she did. She put up the picture of the grid and the work that I'm doing, and it just took on a life of its own. Like I was doing all these readings for people and all these different things. And years before that, I had worked with a woman, my coach, on I'd gotten certified in a type of leadership coaching that again was based really on intuition. And so all of these things started to meld together. I started working more with crystals. I started working more with the energetics of people and coaching them in that way, and how the energetics played into the visions and goals they had for themselves and their business. I've worked with tons of CEOs and people who are starting companies and creating products and writing all these things. And so, yeah, it found me, and then I left it, and then it found me again. Because, when it's meant to be your path, you really, at some point, you're always going to come back around to what it is that you're meant to be doing. And so, yeah, so it's a very long story, but that was 10 years ago now, I think, that I came back around and started doing different readings and working more in the energy realms. And yeah, so now I mentor people from an intuitive standpoint. I work with individuals who need support with their energy. And then I also do breath work. So there's a one missing piece that I felt like, because my goal is really to empower people to understand their energy. I want them to be able to understand what it feels like to be clear, how light they can be, how easy it can happen. It doesn't need to be a long, painful process, although sometimes it's hard to let go of things and see things and move through them. But I also always want to make sure that we're clearing the external, your external energetic field gets clear, but then also your internal. And so, where things live in your body, everything lives in our body. There's always an energetic connection to your physical body somewhere, is what I always ask people to consider. And so breath work for me was that piece and that practice with people that has them start to see as things are moving through their body. Maybe they're in the breath work and they're like, oh, didn't know why do I have this pain in my hip? And the pain in your hip is something that you've been holding on to. That just needs to be released, and the breath supports the movement of that. So did that training 5 or 6 years ago. And that was really the last component to what I felt like was a really holistic practice that I had that I would be able to support people with. So when I work with people, it's a different combination of all those things. I don't have a set program or anything because everyone's different. But I love custom creating what someone actually requires for their healing.
Oh, that is so wonderful. And since I know your work, you do a great job on what you do. So I have a couple of things I want to go have a deeper look on because I think it will be interesting. And maybe in the second half of our talk, you might want to share, if it's possible, some things we can do to just kind of support our energy or listen to ourselves in a more profound way. Okay, let's start first with the crystal grids because I'm really excited. Yeah. I know I'm going to get one, but how does it come? What are you doing? I just having a big a box of crystals. You're just going like this, eyes closed, and what is happening? Just tell me about it. How does it work?
Oh my God, you're so funny. That would be funny, but no, that's not what I do. Okay, so
actually, this is how I pull my oils in the morning.
Yeah, I think it's actually a great way to do it. It's actually great. It's really great. So, but for me, the crystal grids are a little more. How do I want to explain it? But that doesn't sound too weird. So it's like the crystals carry messages for people, right? So when the stones have specific messages for people. So it's not just, I don't just open a book and be like, oh, that sounds good for this person. I actually do it all intuitively. And so when someone reaches out and they want a crystal grid reading, I have a grid. It's over there. It's set up right now actually for something, but it's a flower of life wooden grid that's been etched by an artist. And so I use that as the base of the grid because the flower of life is all about harmony and growth and love. And so I really enjoy using that as the actual foundation for the grid. And so when someone reaches out, I sit and meditate about what I just ask what they need, what crystals do they need. And sometimes it comes through very clearly. Other times there'll be people that I'll email them if they're booked for their session because I always go through everything with them on Zoom. And I say, I need another day because I know there's one more crystal and it's not really coming. So I might go for a walk in the woods or go, get in the water, just something that is going to connect me to more deeply to what it is the person needs. And so it's usually 4 to 6 different crystals that they need for the grid. And so the grid, I'll lay it out. It gets laid out in a very, again, intuitive manner, not to be annoying, but that's the truth. There's no rhyme or reason to how it happens. And sometimes I'll move things around. It's like, oh, this doesn't belong here. It belongs here. And, just how things get laid out in the grid is a very specific way for the person. And then, I ask if the grid is complete. And then I have a wand, I have selenite wands that I activate the grid. Like if there's a mantra or something that's come through for the person, I'll activate the grid with my wand. And that's kind of what starts to send the resonance out. And then I pick cards if they need cards. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Depends. Everyone's different. And then I take some pictures with a description of everything and I send it to them in a PDF, which sounds so old school. I'm realizing now I should probably just do a video or something. And then I always have a Zoom call with them and I go through, I give them a day or two to read through all the information. And then we get on Zoom and we go through everything. And if they have questions, that gives them the chance to ask questions. But it also, so I started my coaching practice in September. My friend who said she was kicking me out of the spiritual closet, that was November. And I got inundated. I got a lot of requests for grids. And I got really freaked out. I started to doubt it and I got a little bit nervous because they were total strangers. And I thought, oh, what if none of this makes any sense to them? Or they think it's so crazy. And then I had some very profound experiences with women who were complete strangers, actually. And they had children who had passed and things like that. And that was all coming through the crystals. And so then I kind of needed to take a little bit of a break because I felt, I was like, is this the work that I need to be doing? It was coming through so strong and very unexpectedly. So I just took a little break from it and then just started offering it again a little while ago.
Okay, that is, I totally understand that you had that you needed a time to see where you want to put your boundary and what your work will look like. Yeah, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all go through those phases and question whatever if that's the right path, and that's probably good for improvement and for staying true.
Yeah, and just refining it, and not just doing, the grids are really powerful. And so not just doing it because somebody wants one because it's cool or trendy, but that they want it. They also want the reading for the right intention,
Yes.
That they know there's a level of something it's going to bring to them and to their own healing. And so, and then when everything is done, I actually pick one of each of the activated crystals and I send it to them in the mail. Like you get the crystals in the mail from the grid.
Wow.
Not all of them, some of them.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. That sounds amazing. So, and we actually didn't ask you about it, but can we talk about the messages kind of that you get when you talk to somebody? Because I know that I have a feeling sometimes about energy being around me or about something which is not me around me, but I can't get a grip on it. So, or I don't understand it. And I need to be really silent to realize it even. So, but I know that you, when we work, that you have a different connection. So, would you like to talk about that a little?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that, that nothing is weird, all is fascinating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think for me, I mostly hear. So I get very clear speaking, like very clear from my guides. They're very clear of like, it's this or it's that, or ask this question, ask that question. It's very direct, like it's a very clear channel conversation.
Wow.
And so when I'm working with someone in individual sessions, I always prepare and I ask what we're going to need to focus on. Of course, that could change when the person comes on the screen. But once we are in the session and we start, there's a commitment to clearing the energy and to being open to what is there. Very often, from working together, I ask the questions so that you see it, or you land on what it is for you. My intention is to not ever tell people. Some people I have to, because it's like takes, a little bit to get them there if they're not used to working with energy or their own intuition even, because oftentimes in the energy clearing sessions that we do, if you allow your logical mind to take over, you think, right? Your ego, your brain, you think you know what it is. But the fact is, if you knew what it was, you would have dealt with it. And so it's usually something that is intuitive that you haven't seen, but how it's impacting you or how it's showing up in your life. And so for me, it's literally just like a conversation. Like and I've always been taught to listen, and I internally ask a question. I'm always asking questions up as something is happening this way, because I unless I get an answer, I don't move. So sometimes in our sessions, there'll be a little bit of a lull in the discussion or in the question. And it's because I haven't heard what my next move is. And so I know I've asked the wrong question. So if I don't get an answer from my guides, I've asked the wrong question. I haven't phrased it correctly. And so I ask again, but a different way. And then I get, what the next move is. Okay. And so for me, it's like, if I don't know, I don't move. I don't panic and fill the space to do something to get it done, because that's irresponsible. In my world, that's very irresponsible, because I'm not the one doing it. I'm listening and I'm having a discussion and asking questions, but I'm really just the intention is that I'm just allowing it to come through to be able to reveal for you what's happening. And so, and sometimes, probably in one of our sessions, it can be like, it's like rapid fire. And so I'm always like, take a number. Like you're at the deli counter. I'm like, everybody up there, just take a number one at a time because I can't manage all this. So sometimes it's like really fast and furious, and other times it's very calm and very direct and very clear. But it's very much, my intuition is very much listening, hearing. I see a little bit and I sense a bit, but I mostly hear. My whole life, I've always heard.
Okay. And how was that as a child when you heard stuff? And you told us about the ringing, but did you hear other stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would have little conversations all the time, or like I would see people, standing in the doorway, or, I'd wake up and I'd see a form or something like that. But it never scared me. I was never scared. I was never nervous. And I think over the years, I've just learned to really trust whatever I'm hearing or whatever I'm seeing, and any messages that come through. Like sometimes I'll be hiking and I'll hear something to tell somebody from somewhere, and I'll just record them a voice note. I'll just record them a voice note and be like, hey, I'm out hiking. Like I literally am just like, don't listen to this if you don't want to know, but I'm just out hiking and this is the message I got. And
oh, that's so cool.
Like one woman, it was her dog. Her dog had passed away, and she was a client that I hadn't talked to in a long time. And I was like, hey, I was hiking and I just sent this random voice text. Hey, this is what the dog's name was, Rena. This is what Rena is saying. I don't know if it makes any sense. And it was she knew exactly what it meant. And, so just things come in at different times, like when people need it, probably,
Yeah.
And so, so that's really interesting. And I do see, like, you'll know if you say something in a session, you might say something and I might just see a flash of something. It's just like an old school movie, like a film, like a flash,
mm-hmm.
And I can't ever recall it, but I'll just get a glimpse of like, this is what it is.
Yes, I know that's what makes it so fascinating, because I thought I thought I knew all this is causing this is causing this, like the whole cycle. I think my logic mind has my English is a little, it had solved it already, but then we worked and I was like, oh, it's this. It's that behind this. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. Yeah. Not in the moment because it's kind of intense. It's nice, but intense. But afterwards it's like,
yeah, exactly.
That's
so it's like a very like a deeper, like revelation, like a deeper reveal of things that you're like, oh, of course. To your point, once you see it, you're like, of course. It makes
yes.
Oh, yes. I did not know that.
Exactly.
But it's just the way energies work, because we also live in a time where there is a lot of repressed energy, a lot of energies that are very negative, that don't, very dark, for lack of a better term, that they would rather people stay small or stay in their, kind of little bubble, because if they begin to heal so much and they're spreading their light to other people, it's going to create things that dark energies don't necessarily want. Dark energies, are not fond of light energies. And so oftentimes they'll have you think that you've solved something or you've worked through it or you've figured it out, when there's actually a little bit more going on underneath the surface. So.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. What do you think? Are there things that we can do as humans to have a good protection towards those darker energies?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you need them now, right? So I think there's, a couple of things that are really, really easy to do. Of course, you can use essential oils. So I know you work with oils as well, but in the energetic realm, there's a few oils that are really protective. So if you're going out into a space where you might encounter negative energies or things that might impact you, you can put a little on guard on your heart, or Stronger from the kids collection is great. Tea tree on the bottoms of your feet, like things that are all about protection and boundaries.
Yeah.
Those are ones that I would use personally use before I'm going out anywhere. You can also work with the light of Archangel Michael. So Archangel Michael is very protective. Of course, he has a sword and his shield, but he has a blue ray. And so you can always call in the blue light and almost envision yourself in a bubble of his protective blue light, because that really will protect you. And I do that. I do that all the time. I used to travel a ton in my corporate job. I traveled 3 months out of every month. 3 weeks out of every month. And every time we'd be going down the runway, taking off, and I'd close my eyes and I would just say, Archangel Michael, wrap the plane in your blue light. Like I use it all the time. Like anywhere, I would just call him in and request that he wraps us in blue light and keeps us safe. Takes 30 seconds. It's pretty easy, but yet really impactful. And then another one that I really use quite often, although of course not in the last couple of years because we haven't been in crowded spaces, but when I go out into a crowd or go to like a family dinner, I'll visualize myself like with a mirror wrapped around me. So I'll bring the mirror in really close, like maybe within an inch or two of my body. And usually it's gold because I like to visualize myself protected in golden light. And then once I know it's in, I'll visualize the mirror flipping out. So the mirror is facing outward so that any energies that come to me get reflected back out, like just right. They just go back out no matter what they are. So those are
I'm going to try this because I'm wrapping myself in golden light almost every morning. I love it. And, but I have never tried the mirror thing.
Yeah, the mirror's good. It's easy.
Yeah, that's easy. That's cool. Thank you so much for those tips. So you also call on angels. Do you call on other angels which we should know about? Are there specific angels which would be good to know? Because I'm not that much into angels. I have an angel card deck, which I use, but I've pulled Gabriel today.
Oh, nice. Very good. That's good. Yeah, Gabriel's good. He's the messenger. So there you go. There might be, perfect for today. But yeah, so a lot of people would know Gabriel. Of course, a lot of people know Michael. So Archangel Michael is, the head of all the archangels, so to speak. Archangel Raphael is a very common as well. Very common one. He is all about health and healing.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. And his light, so to speak, is the green ray. So anything with a green color ray, so that'll be Raphael. He, if you think of like emerald crystals or green aventurine, those are the ones that really resonate with him. And both of those crystals are healing, physically healing crystals. So I'll work with him if I sometimes I had my tonsils out when I was 18 months old. And so sometimes my throat will get really raspy, or if I'm starting to feel a little bit sick, which is not often, but sometimes I'll get a sore throat. And so if I wake up and I'm not feeling great, I'll call on our angel Raphael and, say like, can you wrap my throat in your green healing light? I'll go back to sleep or whatever. Just a little quick call in. I use a lot with my dogs. My dog just had surgery. So I'm always like, Raphael, wrap him in green light and heal him. And so you can use that with any type of healing, any more physical things. And then Archangel Metatron is also a really strong archangel presence. I have a friend who actually is a medium, and she's an angel, works mostly with angels. And every time we talk, she's like, Archangel Metatron's right behind you. Every time we're together. And so he's more, he's like strength, and he can be visualized sometimes as the dark angel, like the black wings, but he's very tall. And so when I go for my walks in the morning, which anyone who's seen me on Instagram, I usually put some pictures up. There's really tall, very thin, tall balsam fir trees. And to me, those are like the like physical presence of Archangel Metatron. He's just like a tall, strong, rooted, thin tree, but he has a lot of strength, and fortitude. So he's a great one as well. I mean, there's so many. I could go on and on, but
yeah, I know. And that might be boring for people who are already into the angels, but I'm kind of like, it's like me being on a little chain with pearls. I'm like, oh, that pearl and that pearl.
Yeah.
Finding my way through,
exactly.
like collecting the pearls.
Yeah, that's great though.
So let's talk about how do we know if we have, what is a sign, a common sign, of course, everybody's different, but which we should be like, kind of like, oh, that might be not me, but a different energy moving towards me, maybe an old energy, maybe an old pattern, whatever. What are signs you would say are quite familiar?
Yeah. So a couple of things. When I work with people like more in like more of a long term who are new to intuition and energetics and things like that, I always have them start to really work initially with their body. So understand for you, how does fear feel in your body? And so, or, what are the little things that your body might do? So for me, my heart will pound a little bit. My throat usually starts to go out. I'm a big throat person. So my throat might get tight and closed, and I might start coughing because I'm trying to clear, like make space in my throat. Mm-hmm. I'll drink a lot of water because the same thing. I'm trying to open my throat up because that's when I get nervous or doubtful or fear. The energy of fear comes in, which is normal, and then I have antidotes. I have different things that I know shifts me out of fear immediately and back into trust. So I have people start to understand, like for you, right? This is where with my clients, I don't do the work. I'll guide you, but you have to figure out what it is for you. I don't know what it is in your body. You have to figure out what it is in your body. So I know what it is for me. And so then say one day I'm walking around or I come home and I have butterflies in my stomach or I feel a little nauseous. I know that that's not my energy because I'm not a stomach person. I'm a heart, throat, my heart pounds, I get hot, my throat gets tight. That's how fear and doubt and negative energy shows up for me. So if I'm in a session or I'm around somebody and I start to feel nauseous or butterflies, I'm like, ooh, that's not mine. Like I know immediately I've taken on somebody else's energy because it's simply not how my vessel, how my body processes negative energy. And so, if I'm working with someone or in a conversation with someone and I'm having that, say my stomach, I'm feeling my stomach, I'll ask them a question because maybe there's something they're not telling me. There's something that needs to be discussed. There's something that they still want to share. So I'll always, if it's one-on-one or I'm in a group of people, I might do that. Otherwise, I'll start to, I'll ask, is this my energy? I just ask, I'm just having conversations all the time. So I'm just like, is this my energy? It's always yes or no questions. No. Okay, great. So, what do I need to do to clear it? Do I need to move? Do I need to drink some water? Do I, just need to kind of sweep it away? I'll start to understand what I actually need to do to move the energy through. But for me, energetics is all about what's going on in your body. Like your body is communicating with you all the time. 99% of the people do not listen. They don't understand. They're very disconnected from their physical body. But your physical body knows before your logical mind can kick in and tell you what it is. So if you can catch it when it's in your body and you have tools to shift it, you'll always move through it. It becomes a problem when you are unsure how things show up in your body. It hits your mind, and then your mind within 30 seconds has made up 100 things that it is. So then that's where all the chaos and confusion and all the starts to happen. And so it's like the biggest thing I always say to people, stay in your body, stay out of your mind. Because your logical mind can convince you of anything. It literally will convince you of anything. And so you want to be able to trust your body and trust the communication that it's sending you, as opposed to what your mind is telling you.
Yes, that is so true. And that is so hard to learn because for me, it's like I'm so conditioned to listening to my mind, what it's telling me. And there are so many programs, like when my mind hits in and tells me it's this and that, and what it does, it wants to solve the problems made up. Mm-hmm. And then there are a lot of impulses to do things. And when I start doing it, I'm never done. It's
exactly.
Like doing this.
Exactly.
It's like, and it's always the impulse, because at first glimpse, it gives me a feeling of that I'm in charge and that I'm able to do something. But it's just like when you play hide and seek and you're searching in the wrong area. It's like, that's what it feels like. Exactly. Like searching everywhere and this, and I need to Google that, I need to do this, and I need to call her. And it's it's not found. And then when I'm quiet, or when I'm almost falling asleep or just waking up, then I'm like, I could do this. And that's always the solution.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So it takes a lot of discipline, like I'm very, it's taken me a long time to get here, of course. A long time. I mean, I've been doing this work, for the actual specific energy work in this way, working with your body for like 18 years. So, and wow. I've gotten really into the minutia. Like I can tell little tiny twinges in my body. I know what's not mine and what someone else's and what's causing different things. And I also know how my own body is reacting to things. So it's like these grander things of my throat, or if my shoulders kind of turtle because I'm trying to hide, I'm scared, so I'm hiding. Those are the big, broad things. But then I've also over the years found all these little smaller things that happen in my body that it's like, okay, there's something I need to look at, or something a fear that's coming up, or whatever. But that's the key. That is the key. And the key is the discipline, and then the trusting it, not thinking like, oh, that pain is nothing. Because you want to just poo-poo it away and not have to deal with it. And so it's so common, right? It's human nature to be like, oh, that's nothing.
Yeah, well, and that's plus when other people, I feel, I don't want to offend anybody, but for me and others I talk to, it's like when you're in that self-realization process and you're kind of like unwrapping yourself, all the layers that you put on, then I get caught sometimes in the fear of not doing it right. Like my ego hits into that process, and then a negative emotion or negative feeling is like a failure. Yes. And so that is just such a trap, I feel. So I just need to breathe it out and say, okay, that's human. Just relax. Doesn't mean you're on the wrong path or anything. But it's like, because there's some kind of illusion that we will all have, like, kind of, I don't know, the mind of the Dalai Lama with the body of Giselle Bündchen or something, which won't happen probably. I don't know.
I don't know.
Let's manifest that. It just came to my mind, and I'm getting really hot, so that seems like a good idea for me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a human condition, right? So it's just it's interesting.
Totally. So back to energetic work. So when we get to listen to our body better, should we just follow that path on with personal routines like yoga and breath work, or what do you think about that state of or how do we, you would just ask and have a conversation, but us who are not that clear within our conversations or with the realm around us, when there's a voice inside of us that's saying, oh, I just need a break, I don't want to do that breath work. And then there's another part that says, well, you will feel better afterwards. So how do we distinguish between being too comfy or listening to ourselves? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a clear question?
I think I do.
Like in Germany, we say the innere Schweinehund, which is like a kind of our inner pig dog. I don't think that exists in English, that word, Schweinehund. Mm-hmm. But it's like kind of like there's a voice in us wanting us to convince to just stay a little comfy and don't do the work and stuff.
I got it. Okay. Yes. So the thing is there's typically two voices, right? So the one inside your head, like it never stops. It's like a squawking chicken that just never stops, or for some, like my teacher used to say, it's either a squawking chicken or like a mummy, like, dread, like slow and dread and heavy. And so that never stops talking. So that's typically your smaller voice, your lower vibrational voice, your lower frequency voice telling you, oh, don't do this. Oh, don't worry about that. Oh, you don't need to do that. Those are like the insidious little energies that want to keep you small, right? And whereas when you're listening to your higher frequency, your higher self, your higher voice, whatever that is for all of us, some of us, like you said, you might not trust it yet, or you might not be understanding what you're hearing. There's two distinct voices. You can only listen to one at a time. You can only listen to one thing at a time. And so if you're listening to the lower voice, the one that's trying to keep you small and convince you not to do the breath work or not to do the yoga, then that's a smaller voice. If there's like a lot of convincing and excuses and reasonings of why you shouldn't do it. Whereas your higher voice will sound very different. It might say, oh, it's late. Don't do the breath work because you need rest. You need to go to bed. You need rest. Like that's a different sounding voice and coming from a higher vibrational place than a voice that's like, oh, you don't need breath work. You're healed. You're fine. Don't waste your time. You have other things to do. Go like sit on the couch and watch TV. Like if it's giving you like lower vibrational options, then it's typically the lower vibrational voice, right? And so I think it's also very tricky because in the spiritual world you want to be doing everything, and you don't. You need to just sit for a minute and see what resonates with you, right? Is it a yes? Like, are you jumping into it? You want to do it. It's for you. Or are you doing it because it's, like what I was saying earlier, it's trendy or it's the thing to do, or somebody says it's cool, and it doesn't necessarily, everything's not for all of us, right? We all have these things that resonate with us and other things that don't. And it's okay. It's not belittling anything else or shaming anyone else for choosing to do a certain modality. It's like you have to understand what resonates with you, because everything has a specific frequency. And so different practitioners, different practices, they're going to resonate differently with each of us. And some people are not ready for breath work. Some people are not ready for energy work because their system, their nervous system, their system is not ready to look at things in a specific way. And so it's just understanding and being okay and trusting that, and being able to distinguish and discern which voice is telling you, right? Is it that lower vibration voice that doesn't want you to heal because they don't want you to move forward? Or is it your higher self that's like, oh, you need some rest? Like what your body really needs today is just to relax and enjoy the day, not, working on yourself and putting yourself through something. So it's again, like very distinguishing voice, but then also you being very discerning.
Yeah, and what I feel like it's like kind of the same, of course different, but kind of like the same. What is the English word? Wait, information you give us. It's listening inside and learning to distinguish between voices or energies, or getting to know ourselves versus searching outside of ourselves for solutions and reasons for how we feel. Mm-hmm. Okay, I get that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. Tracy, if somebody is listening right now and wants to work with you and wants to learn more, because like me, I'm kind of feeling called to work with you. You talked about a program, so I will, of course, put the link of your website in, but you might want to share the possibilities.
So I see my little dog. Yeah. He's like laying on the crystal bed.
I need a crystal bed. I feel that.
Yeah. So there's a couple of different ways. I do have a longer program because I love working with people more in depth. That's just I just love that. I think we're able to, this is very deep work, as you know, in your experience. And so it's a more broad yet deeper experience, depending on the goals that someone has, or if there's a project they're creating. Like I said, I've worked with a lot of business owners and people who are bringing things to market and CEOs. So it's a lot of work, personal work, right, to get you to where your vision and goals are. So that's 6 months or 12 months. It just depends how the person wants to work together. And we meet once a week, and there's different practices and things like that in between. It's a very comprehensive program, I guess I would say. And then I also do a session of either six sessions, so 6 individual sessions, or 3. My preference is that there are at least 3 or 6 sessions, because as you know, there can be a lot of work. And once you start to dig into the energy, a lot of things start to come up, and you realize how much different energetics, past or present, are impacting you. And so I used to do one-off sessions, and it just, for me, wasn't fulfilling and felt a little irresponsible, because I knew there was more that would need to occur. And so currently I offer 3-session series, 6-session series, or then a longer program. So, yeah.
So that sounds fabulous. And everybody who feels called to work with Tracy, I can just encourage you. And you work with essential oils too, don't you? So that might be.
Yeah, very much so.
So, which I feel has really, like, in the past 2 years now, so I've now 2 years, since the oils have found me, it is just like, it has been like a catapult in all kinds of changes and development on all areas.
It's the same thing as the crystals. I feel like the oils are like the plant resonance of energetics, and they come to us at the right time. There's different ones that we can work with, and the way in which they support us and support our energy. That's how I see crystals and oils as the same frequency, the same resonance, just different form. One is a plant form, obviously. One is an earth form. So.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. So, is there anything else you want to share? And I always love when people, I have 2 questions, so maybe I will do one after the other. So one last question is there a special routine you are doing, which is not too private to share?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I never used to think of myself as routine, but I am very routine. So yeah. So when I get up in the morning, I'm a coffee drinker. So I have coffee first thing, and I listen to, sometimes I might listen to a little podcast or a little frequency music, and I do a meditation just to set myself up for the day. I take my dogs. I'm outside in nature every morning, usually by 6 or 6:30 in the morning. We are out on the trails, always in the woods. We never walk on the road. And then when I get back home, I always move my body in the morning. So whether it's rebounder, so you have your rebounder in the background, or I have a few other might do some yoga. I do a lot of different things. Spinning. I'm very my body. I'm a Sagittarius, so my body, I'm very physical. Like, I need to move my body and move things through. And then I pull cards and meditate before I have client sessions, just to set myself up for the day. Like, what do I need to know? What do I need to know maybe for the specific person or for the day? And then I get into my work day, of course, but then I end my day not similarly, but in a similar fashion. So, and pardon, in the morning, of course, I use different oils and things like that. Always have my diffuser going in my office with specific blends and things, and then I end my day similarly. So I'll either get on the rebounder, or it's like I'm signaling my nervous system that we're shifting directions. So, and my body. So it's like I gear up in the morning, my body knows, my intuition's ready to go. And then once the client sessions are over, I do something to clear my body. So the movement and oils and lots of water to clear my energy. whatever that is. Sometimes it's going outside for a hike. Sometimes it's, again, getting on the rebounder. I found the rebounder really great for clearing energy. I use a lot of oils when I'm on the rebounder and start clearing myself as I'm jumping around and clearing out my cells and everything.
Okay, so we need to talk about that in a second too.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm really like, because I am really body and into an energy focus. So I give my body ways in which they understand, okay, well, now we're shifting gears. Like, work is over. No more, everybody go to bed for the night. The day's over. And, we're shifting gears into like calm, quiet evening routine. So, and then dinner, I use oils every night before I go to bed, so that I'm very clear and protected as I'm going into bed. My energy clears and things process through so I can wake up ready to do the work again. Because it's very, you need spiritual stamina. You need physical stamina. You need spiritual stamina to be doing this work, because you're always, there's energy always moving through, all kinds of energy. And to be able to hold the space for people takes a lot.
I know.
In a good way.
I can
I love
imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. So how does that work while it's on the rebounder?
Yeah. So I think I shared this with you before. So I went through, I've been very disciplined around, because I knew I needed to really prepare myself for the work that I'd be doing and creating and the people that I'm working with. So I've been very methodical looking back. I'm a Sagittarius, so I'm not a planner. Didn't plan any of it, but looking back, I'm like, oh, it was all planned. So, I spent a lot of time working on my physical body and my health and just getting myself very strong physically, emotionally, energetically. And then I realized that there was these little minutia things I needed to start doing. So I really started focusing on my cellular health. We've talked about this, got the rebounder, started using DDR Prime, taking some vitamins, like really moving things through my system. Did a lot of cellular work on beliefs and patterns and all of that. And then I realized that because the rebounder is so great, and I'm obsessed with lymph. So I'm obsessed. Like, since I was a body worker, I used to do lymph massage for women, and so I started realizing that the more I'm on the rebounder, the more I'm moving my lymph and all this cellular stuff is moving through, that there was an opportunity to really work with it to clear my energy, both internally and externally. So typically when I'm on the rebounder, I'll use like Purify, and I'll start off by just clearing my energy field as I'm rebounding. I'm pretending I'm jumping on the rebounder now, but I guess I'm rebounding. I'm like pushing the energy away, like really like pushing it away and clearing it. So I have a little Purify on my hands. I might use tea tree in the same way. Or if I'm doing, I recorded, maybe I'll send it to you actually. I recorded for this group that I had, this small program I did, all about embodiment. They all bought rebounders, which I didn't tell them to do, but they all bought rebounders. Then I started recording rebounding.
I love my rebounder. It's just no day without rebounding.
Yeah. So I'll use, there's one I think where it's like we use Purify, and then we put a little rose on our heart to open our heart. But then like there's like all the moves on the rebounder, and there's like an energy clearing for the heart. So it's like, cause you're moving, everything's moving, the energy's moving, your cells are moving. So it's like, it's amazing because they work so well hand in hand, because of course the oils are so, right, they enter your system in such a deep way so quickly. So, oh yeah, lots of things. I just love it. And you can do it intuitively. Just choose ones you want, things. But for me, because I'm preparing for the day, I'll use Purify, then tea tree. And then I'll also, at the end of the day, very similarly, might use, citronella is another really good one, clearing out all the negative stuff at the end of the day. But yeah, that's great.
Well, that sounds just wonderful. Okay. I love it. So many tips. Okay. For a lot of good stuff for all the people listening, I think. So is there, since we are almost talking, we have talked an hour now and time went like this. Is there something?
So fast.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just like, whoosh, where did the time go? It's just so fun to talk with you. So many stuff. Fun to listen. So you might, is there something you just feel that you want to share at the end of our conversations, which feels necessary or just good to share with us?
Yeah. the biggest thing coming through is for people listening, just to start where start where you are, meet yourself where you are. You're just beginning to work with your intuition, use cards or something that shares, directly shares the messages with you. Start tapping into, if you start to notice you're feeling a little off energetically, then maybe just start to question why. Always ask the question, never be the answer, always ask the question. So ask the question and just start to feel into things that you receive or things that you might sense. It's just starting with really small actions. And then that will eventually grow into having a bigger intuitive and energetic connection.
So. Yeah, that is great. Thank you. And of course, I will share all the links. Tracy, thank you so much for taking the time.
Welcome. You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
It was so fun. And everybody who is listening, all the links to find Tracy are in the show notes. I will link your Instagram there and your website so people can scroll around and get to meet you and choose to work with you if they feel called. And if you're listening right now and you liked the information you got and you know a person which could also have fun with listening to our conversations, and just feel free to spread the word and share the podcast. And thanks for listening. Thanks for you, Tracy, for taking the time. It was so much fun. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey und pst, es gibt einen neuen Podcast von mir, der ursprünglich auf einer von mir geschaffenen Kursplattform nur zur Verfügung gestellt wurde. Er heißt Zurück zur Natur und ich beschreibe darin, wie ich ätherische Öle und Supplements nutze und was ich den Leuten, die das mit mir entdecken, rate. Wenn du also Lust hast, auf diesem Weg auch mir ein bisschen zuzuhören, dann findest du Zurück zur Natur überall da, wo du auch diesen Podcast findest. Viel Spaß beim Zuhören.